Hey everybody, welcome to the official Trade Talk channel where I show you how I analyze price for the most consistent and higher probable entries to help you all become better traders, of course. So we're going to be talking about Bitcoin today. We were live a lot last week. We're going to continue with that schedule, but I do want to still get these Saturday uploads out there for people that don't have that much time or that are not able to trade with us during the New York session every morning because they have, well, jobs and stuff. So let's get this Saturday video out, and we're going to keep them going from now on, and it's going to be a good metric for you guys to watch and then get my weekly outlook. From this video, I'm going to tell you what we did last week, and I'm always going to tell you what I'm looking for in the week to come, all right? First things first, Mr. Bitcoin has broken down back below the 200 simple on the weekly time frame. That's not what we wanted to see as far as for, bullish continuation, but being at or around or even under the 200 simple, I also know from historical data that I do not want to be a seller. If we even do get back down to the current near-term lows, it will probably just be to liquidate that swing low. I will be a buyer down there, right? I'm not a seller down here. Now that we've hit, well below my bear market targets, we're looking to be a buyer still. With this much momentum, with this outsized move, this a very aggressive, momentous move to the downside, will we likely see bearish continuation from here? It is possible. Right there where I have that white line, that is the weekly supply zone, $23,180 on the Coinbase data feed. You also have the 200 simple right there. So yes, when we get back up into this region, I am still going to be a little bit more on the bearish side, looking for intra-week and intraday trades. I am not bearish looking for new lows. I honestly believe that this will find support, and I'm going to give you a few reasons why here in a minute. But with what we've seen last week, we can't be bullish either, because that was a very aggressive, very momentous move to the downside. So this is where we're going to be looking for potential short entries on Bitcoin. If we trade back up, it could take several days. It might even take a week, since this was a pretty decent sized move. I'm not looking for next week to open and then just immediately cut loose, right? I don't see that in any other things that I'm looking at, but we'll see what happens. But this, as long as you're above or trading below this, at least on a daily closing basis, then yeah, up in here is where you could potentially look for that short entry. Obviously, the next place would be, back up to weekly resistance. But in my opinion, if you get back up there, you're probably going to break out. We were looking for the breakout on these weeks here, and then obviously when this week broke above resistance, we were looking inside of this weekly range to be a breakout and go. There wasn't enough demand up there, so the sellers ended up winning out the battle, putting a three drive topping formation inside of the bear flag, or whatever you want to call it, inside of this consolidation range. It did look like distribution. We were getting a little bit skeptical on looking for the breakout, but now that we've had this outsized move, now we could potentially start looking for support. Now we did break down below this weekly support right here, but this is where we stopped, right on a dime, right there at weekly support. Let's go over here to the daily time frame so you can see just how good of a test it was. Friday morning when we were doing the live stream, we had a pretty good sized down move already, but we were not seeing a big spike on the futures long liquidations. Here we are today. Now that we've even got more of a down move last night, you can see that the long liquidation spike is massive. Now I don't have past data. I can't go past July the 20th as far as looking how big of a liquidation this is, but just by judging by that line right there, I can pretty much tell you that that's a big liquidation, right? Huge spike. You liquidated over $155 million from the future exchanges. All right, so what that tells us is we should see a pretty good sized drop on futures open interest, but we haven't. Not yet. Maybe tomorrow will give us that new data, and maybe then the open interest will be down. But if the open interest stays here, then that tells me one of two things. Either A, support might be found pretty quickly, or B, there's still enough or still a ton of liquidations to occur coming to the downside. But one thing that suggests that that isn't happening yet is the options open interest put to call ratio. Look at your put to call ratio, the orange line, the white line is price. Your put to call ratio is not growing. It wasn't growing last week either. We know that we're looking for a weekly supply, so I'm probably going to be trying to look for long trades back up to $23,000. I don't know if it'll happen, obviously, because a lot of people is going to be taking shorts now. But now I'm going to be looking for price to slowly meander back up to supply. It doesn't have to get all the way up there. If I pull a fib on this current week's range, you're going to see that the 50% retracement comes in just a little bit lower than supply, and it will also come in just a little bit lower than the 200 simple. So that could actually hold as resistance, and even this wick low right there could hold as resistance, but we'll see what's going to happen. For now, what we're going to be doing is I am going to be looking to buy support probably this weekend or into Monday, and then I'm looking for price to trade back up to there. 23,177 is where we're going to be looking for the potential short entry, and then we'll see what happens once that occurs, if it occurs. But for now, since we have liquidated so many longs, I am looking for this to hold as support. So I will probably watch for potential bullish entries now at $20,834, because if it does want to meander back up there to supply, then that's a pretty decent sized move to look to get long. And we are getting a pullback right now on Bitcoin. It's a lot bigger than I expected. It happened a lot quicker than I expected, and it was more aggressive and momentous than I expected. But at the same time, here it is. And with that massive spike of liquidations, who's left to liquidate? The sell side. So we can potentially look for support somewhere. And I am going to watch $20,834 for that support. I am looking for it to trade back up to there. So I am looking to capitalize on any move back to the upside. That's a big move. So, you know, it could just trade up to the 50% retracement of this downside candle and find resistance. We don't know where price is going to find resistance, or even if it will find resistance. We have to go with what we have in data, and we know from historical data, especially on the coin, on Bitcoin, that whenever you were under the 200 simple, you would have wanted to be a buyer, not a seller. All right, so with that momentous move, you did get back down inside of the buy zone on the MV/RVZ score. Remember, inside of the green zone, everybody's wanting to buy it in the green zone. I even had a couple people tell me that, man, I wish I would have bought it while it was down there. Well, you're back in it. So are you a buyer or are you a seller? If we go back in the history of Bitcoin, as long as we're inside of this green zone all the way down to zero, I'm a buyer. I am a buyer. Because in Bitcoin's entire history, this has been the time to be a buyer. Why would it be different now? Especially if inflation has found the top. All right, hopefully this helps. If it did, make sure you communicate that to me by smashing that like button. Also, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. We put out really good information all the time. And now we're doing live streams through the New York session to look for trade entries, right? And if you want to be a trader, you want to look for what I'm looking for, do what I'm doing, then come join us live. We do a live stream for the public for free every Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will see you there. Thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you for clicking on the thumbnail. And make sure you trade safe. Make sure you trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.